I'm going to start by reading from this, from Parallel to Red in Chorus. It's a sequence poem, and it's a kind of poem come road movie come journey between London and the Isle of Skye via Cambridge, where I'm currently living. It's where the colours are kind of characters of the poem are treated as colours, and also the narratives. There's lots of different narratives, but it tends to follow a line plotted by an AA route master, Route Scotland. So I just start by reading a little bit from this, as it was kindly published here. So, okay. I see a crossroads, you walk parallel to red in chorus, delays a pick-in four and reopen, fold upper corners down, her pockets half lengthways and an offcut, a silver crease, the wrapper with a number and reopen, fold upper 345908, refold a vessel and the sea, both edges contact blue throughout, forming wings, flaps, lift and practice your flying skills, and a small quantity of white, a visual stimulation, void of hue and greyness, a prism collecting the north, an opulent component is articulate and brilliant and unrefined, an intersection. Fluorescent glow, 1068 aperture and shutter speed working together over his image called white and recklessless, grasp at which may be correct inasmuch as standing. 2. 0.00. Start out on an unmade road. The same fine degree of wind, sleet and dark exposure value according to whether you open up or close down one-stop weather. Symbols are a great blessing for those who have no word for numbers, cascading torrents, water to record patterns as blurred streaks on an overcast day. In the centre, bounced off a nearby wall, looks soft and natural looking. I see a man, he is articulate and bright, maybe even vulgar, dreamlike quality, most often used for portraits of girls, increases fuzziness towards the edges, contacts blue throughout. Forming is so irredeemably violent that it is incapable of yielding an alternative. To save fuss, put a polythene bag over it. It is misleading. There will be festivals to jostle and cause annoyance. 3. Where a parade or military band approaches on the red patch, red flowers wait in so much as standing, misting the surface. 0.01. At the roundabout, take the third exit. 0.39. Cenotaph. With your breath, the sides of the cenotaph are not parallel, but if extended would meet at some point above ground, white, layering different sounds on top of each other, layering different sounds on top of each other. Similarly, the horizontal surfaces are in fact sections of a sphere whose centre would 0.41 below ground be illuminated. Radiant, the masters invited her in silver paper. Even blue can have an intense brilliance. 100-watt bulb, 80A star, 82C, 82A, silver paper, 345908, 1 pence, 1 pence, 2 pence, 5 pence, 20 pence, and a small quantity of white, the same fine degree of wind, sleet and dark exposure, and accumulative, less aggressive, but just as artful. So I'll stop there. Okay, this is called Padilla, and I'll just show you it. because what I was trying to do with this piece of work was to bring together the idea of kind of poetry being created by things crossing paths and over each other, and I was trying to get what I was kind of doing. A lot of my work's very page-based, on the page, to kind of come off the page when I perform it. So this is a bit of an experiment with that process. Padea, the goddess of play and amusement, like most of Aphrodite's attendants, is not mentioned in any surviving classical literature. She is, however, frequently depicted beside the goddess in ancient vase painting. Padea. By the time he had been commissioned, their glance flowed love, whose patterns, as laid dormant, a state of kindness and favour towards some heart-on-sleeve transaction, as intensifier, void, played out like slow water, executed by him, obnoxious W star, 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 as potency. The graces or charities were personifications of charm, grace and beauty, as past, present, future, at once more qualities that contribute to a pleasant social event than Greece and Titan as light, to describe what made up a game of pairs, dance in places and beautiful dwell, as art, a ritual to be repeated by linked hands, but also to smear over and verify as democratic. God-given, most often they were daughters, a focus on a benefit object, music and as language, movement. Early images show them clothed, but eventually they were almost always betrayed nude, as thought. Okay. This has a slide. Thanks, Tom. James briefly mentioned I work with a choreographer called Elaine Thomas. She's also dancer, contemporary dancer. And in the process of making this performance, we working with one of the poems that does these two directional lines. I developed a series of diagrams, which that then we used to generate, the shaded areas we used to generate spaces for actual dance performance, and I did lots of these drawings, and Alec kindly published them. So this is one of them. But the book is just one poem, but there's different stresses and kind of silences and based on the lines. So I'll just read it. It's called Toy. Toy. When you enter, you turn the key in my back clockwise until I am wound. I rise and place a fulcrum between us and take my seat. You sit down opposite me and twiddle my memories between your thumbs. I watch as my emotions falter, wound with string that is spun down from and reeled up to your hand. I extend my knee and take you for a ride through the forest of our past. It is green and silvered with dew. You dilly and a little and idle and want to romp. I pause. You dally. I am artifact. You copy me, and we are a piece of fun, an amorous play. So I'd read this. This is something I'm working on, which is a larger bookwork project called A Vase Translation. And it's a series of drawings that accompany it. A vase. Blue and white, there were no flowers in the vase I placed on my desk. White, a vase, vase or vase is an opening, a container, often used to hold cut flowers. There were no flowers in the vase I placed on my desk. Blue, I smashed a vase into shapes and sizes, a vase painted, a white pottery vase. A vase can be made up from a number of materials, including ceramics and glass, decorated under the glaze with cobalt oxide, pigment, traces of gilding, clay, kaolin and kiln. A vase is made from ceramics, porcelain, blue on white, porcelain, pieces so small they are blue, exploded into SMITHEREENS. A vase is often decorated and thus used to extend the beauty of its contents. Vases are defined as having a certain anatomy. Cool and smooth, porcelain, I held it in my hands. 2 vases shattered into hundreds of pieces, whilst the third broke into a few. Kiln. On some occasions, Chinese blue and white wares are incorporated into Islamic designs. Glass, malachite and cobalt oxide. A vase has a certain anatomy. Yellowing inside, pieces so small they are white. Pieces so small they are like dust. Pieces a similar size. A centuries-old vase. A vase has a foot, a distinguishable base. The design of the base may be bulbous, flat, carcanet, or another shape. The design of the base of a vase is flat. It is not bulbous. It is not carinate. It is not or another shape. Next, the body, which forms the main and often largest portion of the piece, blue with a raised lip to run your finger around, song blue and white, graphite, soot and animal glue. Next, a vase has a body, which forms the largest portion of the piece, white, decorated with a raised lip, decorated with flowers, is a vase. Resting atop the body is the shoulder, where the body curves inwards, decorated with blossoms in blue. Around a vase, I kept it on my desk for a few days. Non-archival paper, iron and ink. Then the neck, where the vase is given more height. A third of the way down, a border in blue, a crisscross pattern with inlays of blossom, pattern wrapped around a base. A vase has no neck, just shoulders between the body and the lip. I held a vase in my hands, history mixed with tannin from gullants and thickened. Lastly, the lip, where a vase flares out at the top, clay and kiln. Lastly, the lip, where a vase flares out at the top. A vase curved with a flat base and a hole for flowers, smaller at the top, with a pear-shaped drop towards the base, lip raised, visible. This one's a bit jollier. So I thought I'd end on this. This is Get Pretty Girl, and this is recently published by a new online literary magazine called The Colony. It's an Irish magazine. You should check it out, it's good. Okay. Get Pretty Girl. Taste. Taste. I can already smell something sweet, entwined. I know, as I have no doubt, embedded, you know, that it is honeysuckle. Growing beneath in the hedge, it simply weaves in and outside. As you stand there and look at them, they are foreign, very peculiar. You stand some distance, moving away. You cannot see them clearly. Girl, that's why honeysuckle has developed its outlandish perfume. Let's go into the next field. Dog rose, entwined for as many years as I can remember, embedded, has been famous for their wild roses. Beneath, notice that branches are bearing. Outside, their flowers taste. At the very top, of course, moving is an advantage. I will go as far as to say it is girl essential. Backwards curving prickles which attach to light themselves and literally take possession of any unknown part. They wish, so is true, girl, that which there is a considerable amount of confusion. However, consider the walnut. It is embedded, a native of the Himalayas. The flowers beneath taste were born way back in May or June. Observe. Outside, how it is folded or corrugated. They won't travel far, foreign, until they become transformed or embryo, moving or embryo, woman or embryo, delightful unknown, hung in clusters, immediately within girl, can look at itself remote. This outer skin will decay, wild, and finally be killed by hard weather, or a hen's inheritance. Entwined, embedded, stems which creep for a short distance before turning upwards. Outside, I don't think it matters much. Funny winter weed, taste is found in almost every delight. Gardens which shout out unknown light and air, and God, the 5-petal flowers are small and white, wild hares running beneath, chickweed bad that you could hardly notice beyond the clover field, remains girl. An old kiln beneath in which farmers of earlier days used outside to burn their own lime. The old kilns have become foreign, overgrown, with a type of vegetation that loves. You will liberate a pleasant odour which, unknown, gives the plant its herbal value. Wild, purplish flowers are worth examining individually. Bad, they are rather small. A device ensures cross-girl pollination. Taste, it is interesting to note that the name origamon is derived from the Greek word ganos, which means joy. Thank you.